In the morning when I rise, give me Jesus.
Hello again. Today we're in Genesis chapters 38 through 40. And in chapter 38 there's the story of how Judah, one of the sons of Joseph, had 3 sons. And his oldest son married a woman named Tamar. Well, the older son was evil. Scripture says, and so God killed him. Well, I don't quite know what to do with that. God's a good God. He said, thou shalt not kill. And yet, God cannot embrace evil. And so I'm not going to worry too much about that because it's not the point of the story. But I understand when people struggle that when God does things like that. I'm going to trust God, who is love, but who is just. And so I see some justice coming out at this point. You know, the justice that we deserve was poured out on Jesus. So don't miss that. We have a different deal than did Judah's older son. Well, Judah promised then that Tamar would marry the second older son, and she did, but he knew that they wouldn't be his children, they would be his older dead brother's children, and so he didn't consummate the engagement. So Judah said, hang in there till my youngest son becomes old enough to be married, and then you can marry him, and then you'll have children by him. This was important because the woman didn't have much value, and so the value was in her children. If she didn't have any children, then she was basically left out in the cold. Well, Judah did not do as promised, and so Tamar took matters into her own hands. She pretended to be a prostitute, and Judah came on to her, and so she got symbols that indicated that it was Judah. And then when she became pregnant, Judah was angry with her, said, you acted like a harlot. There were serious consequences to that kind of behavior. But Tamar said, well, look at these symbols. I wonder who they belong to, because they are the father of this child. And of course, Judah was then convicted. Judah said, she is more righteous than I am, because I didn't do what I said. So this is kind of a crazy story, but I want you to see, God doesn't orchestrate a woman to become a harlot. God doesn't orchestrate this kind of deception. God doesn't orchestrate a father sleeping with his daughter-in-law. I see all through the Old Testament how there's indication that God is not pulling strings and controlling everything that goes on. Well, then we see how Joseph was really successful as the servant to Potiphar. And so everything he touched prospered because he was following God. And so God blessed his efforts. And so as he worked for Potiphar, Potiphar's wealth increased and the blessing passed through Joseph for the sake of Potiphar. So Potiphar's wife noticed Joseph and decided she wanted to have relations with him. Well, he wouldn't do it because he was walking with God. And so he's not going to do something against Potiphar. He's going to walk in righteousness. And so when she got him alone at home and he wouldn't bow to her wishes, she took his coat and he ran out of the house. And then she told everyone that he came in to take advantage of her, and see here, he left his coat and ran out when I screamed. Well, that wasn't the truth, but when Potiphar came home, she told that story to Potiphar, and so he was very angry and put Joseph in prison. So Joseph has been in prison for a long time, but everything in prison prospers. Because even in prison, regardless of the circumstances, Joseph is walking with God. Well, there were 2 servants of the Pharaoh who displeased the Pharaoh. So he put them in prison, and it happened to be the same prison where Joseph was. And one day, both of these folks had dreams. Joseph interpreted those dreams, and one of them was very positive, and was that the cupbearer, the one who served wine to the Pharaoh, would be restored. And so Joseph said, would you please tell the Pharaoh when he restores you that I don't deserve to be in prison, and that I interpreted this dream for you accurately, and that I am walking with God. Please tell the Pharaoh to get me out of this place. Well, the cupbearer was restored, but he forgot to tell Pharaoh about Joseph. Oh, join us tomorrow as this saga of Joseph continues. Tomorrow we'll be in Genesis chapters 41 and 42. I look forward to that. God bless you in your day with the Lord
Give
today.
me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world, but give me Jesus.